Hi, my name is Dr. Avigail Ferdman. My work currently is on theories of well-being and in particular about the social and political institutions that we need to put in place in order for each and every person to be able to live a good, well-balanced life. By good life, I mean developing and exercising our characteristically human capacities. Capacities like innovation, creation, to understand, to think, to be rational, to form friendships and social ties, to love. So in order for us to develop and exercise these diverse human capacities, my argument is that we need to have particular social institutions and political institutions in place in order for each and every person to be able to exercise their capacities meaningfully and in well-balanced ways. Now, up to this point, I don't really think that there's a difference or a distinction between men and women, between the way that men and women develop and exercise their human capacities, because I think those capacities are universal and they're not gender dependent or race dependent or culture dependent. But I think that when we think about the political institutions and the social institutions and norms that are in place or that need to be in place in order for people to develop their characteristically human capacities, then gender does come into play because the way that we structure the social and material environment will have a very significant impact on how people, women and men, develop their capacities and exercise them. So for example, one of the ideas that I'm proposing is that in order to really meaningfully engage our capacities in different ways, one of the ways we need to do this is by experimenting and living, by extracting ourselves from our current situation and going to live a completely different life, and in this way to develop and exercise capacities that we haven't exercised before. But when we do that, we need to remember that it's not, when we're speaking about a family, for example, it's not the case that just the male goes out to experiment and the wife and children, if they have, just follow and lag along. It's not the case. What I want to emphasize is that both the male and the female are entitled to be able to exercise their capacities while experimenting. So this means two things. One is for the family itself. So the family needs to sort of cultivate this ethic within the family itself, within the partnership between the man and the woman, whereas they both understand that when we go out to experiment, both of us are going to be able and are entitled to have opportunities to develop and exercise our capacities. So it's not the case that just the man is going to do some very interesting work and the woman just stays behind and takes care of the children or dependents, etc. And the other thing that I think is necessary is that society as a whole is also committed to the idea that experimentation is something that's universally applied both to men and women. So there's opportunities overall that are relevant to both men and women. And another thing that I think, another social institution that I think is very, very relevant to my work on the equal opportunity to develop and exercise our capacities is an idea that I draw from our legal scholar, Jenny Nedelsky. She's developing an argument that's related to the balance between work and care. Her argument is that usually care responsibilities are things that are relevant to women and minorities, and they're either non-paid responsibilities or very, very low-paid responsibilities of care, whereas work, especially done by males, is high-paid and more prestigious. So her argument is that we need to transform the relationship between care ethic and work ethic so that everybody works part-time. And also the other side of the coin is that everybody also shares in the care responsibilities. Now, she has a political economy justification for this, but I think that's what's interesting is that if we take this idea that after all, people need to share both in the work responsibilities and the care responsibilities, and this means that we have more time to spend on care, then this can also mean that people have more time to develop and exercise their capacities, both in the work domain, but also in the relationship domain, right? To develop our affective and social capacities, develop relationships of friendship and love, etc. So I think this is a very, very useful idea to think about how we transform our communities and our societies.